Grand Rising family, this is Dr. Kia Pruitt. It is Tuesday, August the 30th, 2022, and the time is 11:45 a.m. It is my great pleasure to come before you today to bring you some breaking news. Listen, a military serviceman or former military serviceman has broken his silence because he is tired of people coming for him and telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about when he's talked to his family members and friends and, his close circle of colleagues who says mean things to him like, oh, are you off your meds today? Have you taken your meds? And he is so tired of people disrespecting our servicemen who have done a lot to serve this country. He said he's tired of people speaking against this country when so many of our loved ones have died serving us and protecting us as a nation. So he broke his silence and said, look, I am coming forward to dispel the myth that 46 is your president. He said Donald Trump is still your president. Then he goes on to talk about executive orders to let us know that this is indeed the case. He talks about what happened on the so-called inauguration date. And I think we need to give this man his due reward and his just dues for coming forward. Now he's not speaking out as much because he went viral. He doesn't even need to say anything else, but his name is Derek Johnson. You can find him on his own website, DerekJohnson, country, COUNTRY.com. That's DerekJohnsonCountry.com. He is a country music artist right now, but he used to serve in the military and he had a high clearance. But please note that the information he's given us today is not going against his clearance because, friends and family members, if you go against military clearance and you spill secrets, you will be held for treason, and the penalty of treason is. So he would never do that. He's actually given us information that some of us know because we've done our due diligence, but some of this information I didn't know. So he's given us this information that he said, if we've been paying attention, we would know that Mr. Donald John Trump is still the president of the United States. So let's get into what he says. First, I want to read from this article beforeitsnews.com because it talks about his video that went viral, and I would put that link in the description section of this video. But he talks about what happened on January 20th, 2021. And I know your eyes were peeled to the screens on that day. I know mine were, and I don't even watch television, but honey, I made my way to a screen that day. I wanted to see what was going to happen because I kind of felt a little leery and uncomfortable about what would happen with them elections. So he says that on January the 20th, 2021, by military law and constitutional law, President Trump received a full-grade military and constitutionally regulated inauguration ceremony, but that occurred at Joint Base Andrews. Now, please bear with me while I look at my notes because I just wanted to cover everything and not miss anything. He said he exited Marine One on a red carpet rollout on the fourth ruffle of Hail to the Chief, and then a 21-gun salute started for President Trump. He said this is the official presidential salute battery, and that occurred at the ceremony for President Trump. But at the same day, something else was given to Biden. Do you all remember that? But let's get back to Trump. He said both Air Force Ones were present during the day at Joint Base Andrews for President Trump. But on the same day of January 2021, I remember watching that. I remember it started at a weird hour, and I recall watching people dressed in red and yellow, and I was like, those are the Communist Party of China colors. Now, I sometimes I could be a little too conspiratorial, but that just struck me as a little odd. Listen to what Mr. Johnson says. On January 20, 2021, Joe Biden was actually given or received a military regulation funeral service. He said they left the Capitol in a funeral procession and it went to the tomb of the unknown soldier. Oh my God. He said there was a 3-volley salute with 13 fires, which is for funerals only. 13 fires. That's a Masonic number. And he said so that This occurred for Biden because Biden is not the official president, but he is a minister resident. A minister resident is a person who takes up temporary space as a minister resident or a so-called president of a foreign entity or a foreign country. He said they played the Honors March 1, which is played for a minister resident, and he was sworn in at 11:47 a.m. Now let's pause. So a person who takes up temporary resident in a foreign country is what he defined, number 46, or Biden, as. Why are we calling him a resident of a foreign country or a foreign entity even? I will gladly answer that question. It is because Washington, D.C. is neither a state nor is it a territory that's a part of America, but it is considered a foreign entity or a foreign country with its own military, its own laws, rules, and regulations. So Biden is, or this fake actor known as Biden, is only the minister resident of that foreign entity, which is Washington, D.C. Now, let's get into a little bit of why he says we need to know this information. He says at Guantanamo Bay or Gitmo, there are 4 or 5 aircrafts that leave Mar-a-Lago daily to Gitmo. And I've seen reports that have covered that, and I've read articles about that, so I believe that is true. He said that has been going on since January 2021, which is how we know that a covert military operation is going on. This is consistent with my research. As a matter of fact, in March 2020, I wrote an article and somebody submitted it to Rumor Mills, and I heard the article went viral. People were putting my article in their YouTube channels. There was this one YouTube channel called And You Know, or And We Know. They talked about my article. Different YouTubers did, and it was in Rumor Mills, and people told me the article went to churches. So this article that I published just talked about how we were told that there would be a covert military operation, that a Black Swan event would occur first, and that we all were supposed to stay in our homes, that the National Guard would be deployed in every state, that people were going to have a curfew. And I talked about how we should have supplies and have them stocked up and stored up to keep our emotions in check because something horrible was about to happen. Now, I was only reporting what I had heard from military intel and from the research that I had done. So I decided to take to my social media platform and talk about it, and then it went viral. And do you know that days later, not even weeks later, the pandemic happened and we were all locked down and military was on the ground. So when I published that article, and I don't know why it did go viral, but people were calling me crazy. I mean, I was called an Uncle Tom. I was called a person who didn't like Black folks. I was called somebody who was in love with President Trump, and I must wanted to have my cookies grabbed. It was just cookies speaking for, my body parts. Because I said that President Donald Trump was in charge and that he was led by the military, or he was chosen by the military and leading the military in a covert operation against the deep state. So all praise and honor to the Most High, and thanks for Mr. Derek Johnson coming out to put himself in a precarious position, because people started coming for him, asking him, are you taking your meds, or what's wrong with you, or threatening him because he came out with this information. But please, family, consider these executive orders which he talked about. He mentioned Executive Order 13848, which was signed into law or signed by President Donald Trump on September 12, 2018. This imposes certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in United States elections. Now, this just lets me know that President Trump knew that something was going to happen with our elections. He knew there was going to be a compromising of elections that would occur in 2020. So he signed Executive Order 13848. Then Mr. Johnson describes or talks about Executive Order 13885, which establishes a National Quantum Initiative Advisory Committee. And he talks about how right after that, Q came out, which we know about Q, that he came out, I think Q came out actually in October. So he says this censors continued American leadership in quantum information science. He goes on to talk about Executive Order 1383959, which was signed on November the 12th, 2020. And he said this prohibits investments in the Communist Party of China. That was November the 12th, 2020. And I think that's really interesting because right after that, you saw some very interesting activity. What happened? First, on February the 2nd, 2021, Bezos left Amazon. Remember that? And then on May the 8th, 2021, Bill Gates and Melinda divorced. And then in June, on the 23rd, 2021, Warren Buffett left the Gates Foundation as the trustee. He resigned as the trustee. Then when we looked it up and see what happened with Zuckerberg, because we know he's another billionaire, he started dumping his stocks every week from November 20th, 2020, after President Trump signed this Executive Order 13959. So I encourage you all to look up all these executive orders and see for yourself how we can discern that the president was preparing us and letting us know about this covert operation to take down the deep state. Then, so that particular executive order that was signed on November 12th, 2020, reminded me how the Secretary of State Pompeo, who was actually also a former CIA director, Mike Pompeo had spoken at the Governor's Council, a governor's conference, and he said in his message to all the governors that he knew that governors had sold out their states to the Communist Party of China and that he was keeping a record of all those who had. He said, I see you. I have a report card from the CCP that details and outlines how compliant you've been with the Communist Chinese Party. He said that the CCP have sent people to infiltrate every segment of our society, the finance institutions, our universities, our military. They come into the businesses, political arena, the schools. He said, I see them, I know who they are, and I know who you are, governors, that have been complicit in these activities to take over America and to usurp powers here and control our people, and also to bring in your own military to take down America. And he said, so I'm watching you and I'm asking you to do the right thing. Please look on YouTube. You can see, if you type in Secretary Pompeo's speech at the governor's conference, February 8, 2020, you will see that he was warning all the governors. Did they listen? No, they did not. You can see that some of them were a bit uncomfortable, but we know they didn't listen because right after that, we had to shut down March 2020. So please understand, I'm going to talk about a little bit about that article that I had written that had gone viral. I said in the article that there was going to be a Black Swan event, which is an event that, that is out of the ordinary, something that's really weird or different that people normally haven't seen, like a pandemic, that will cause people to pause and it will affect the economy. So when I reported that in March, I had no idea it would be the pandemic. But I did notice that Secretary Pompeo had made this announcement February 8th at the Governor's Council. And I was like, is this something serious really is going to happen? And then we had that shutdown. So what happened was, indeed, there was a virus. Indeed, people were sick. But the military used this as an opportunity to take down the deep state, use this as an opportunity to bring in the military to to watch what was going on, to make sure people were in the house, because they knew during this covert operation of them taking down the deep state and arresting people, they knew that these nefarious powers would try to fight back by, maybe causing some harm to the people. So the best way to deal with it was to have us locked down. So you see, what the adversary means for your harm, God will turn it around and bring it in to make it for your good or to protect you. Okay, let's get back into the executive orders. So there was also Executive Order 139/19, when President Trump ordered the selected reserve of the armed forces or National Guards of all 50 states to come out of the reserve and come on the ground. So that, in other words, the National Guard, the military, was activated in all 50 states. Now, I do have a video that I did, I want to say maybe last year, where I was talking about how the National Guard was activated by all 50 states. And I said, here's my proof. And I said, this is proof that we have a covert operation going on. Now, I will link that video in the description section as well. But I didn't know about this Executive Order 139/19. So I want to give thanks again to Mr. Derek Johnson, for allowing us to know which executive order that was. Then, of course, you all know about Executive Order 138/18, which freezes the assets of people who are involved in crimes against humanity. I've talked about that one a lot because, we know about what's been going on underground in the dumps or the military bases that were underneath the grounds in many, many states and actually many countries, where they were doing nefarious things to children. They were creating humans and doing just trafficking, all type of nefarious activities. So these people who were involved in these activities had their assets frozen and had their properties frozen as well, or their property and assets blocked. Now, then Mr. Johnson talks about Executive Order 139/03, which combated human trafficking and online child exploitation. Additionally, he says that what we see happening or being activated right now is 47 Code 606. Please look up that, because that allows for war powers of the president to be executed. So it extends President Trump's power as a president in time of war. So what war are you talking about, Dr. Pruitt? Because you told us that we are living in a time of peace and 209 countries agreed to world peace. While that is true, we are in a war against the deep state. This is a covert military operation, as many of us have said. Biden is not your president. He is only the president of a foreign entity or a minister in resident of Washington, D.C. He has not been presented as the same person that we know as Biden. We see people wearing masks. We see CGI or computer-generated imagery. We see green screens. We know that he is not the real president. So let's continue on. Derek Johnson is now saying that he's in a safe location. But if you go to his Facebook page, he is very active there. He's talking about his intel and the things that he wants us to know. He says that we need to be doing our own due diligence and our own research so that we can know the truth for ourselves, that Donald Trump is the president, the lawful president, and that he will come forward in due time and let everybody know. Now, those of us who have been reporting on this have some information, and you all know this because you've been doing your due diligence, that we're supposed to receive an emergency broadcast system announcement or some type of announcement that will overtake our TVs, our computers, our telephones, to let us know that this war against these nefarious powers that have enslaved humanity has been going on and is now over. So when that announcement comes out, we will know that by then it's over and our lawful government, the Republic, has been restored. Now, in other breaking news, Timothy Thibault, Thibault, was escorted out of the FBI building for suppressing evidence about Hunter Biden's laptop. He was escorted out about three hours ago. 3 hours ago, he's accused of political bias, suppressing Hunter Biden laptops, and was escorted out of the Federal Bureau of Investigations building on today, August the 30th, 2022, about 3 hours ago, maybe about 8 or 9 o'clock this morning. Now, I don't know if you all have seen this, but so much is going on. If you look on Twitter, there is an account by a woman who goes by Hallie Biden. I think it's Hallie. Who is Hallie Biden? Oh my God. I don't even know how I stumbled upon this morning. She doesn't even have that many friends right now, but she will because she's about to go viral. This is the ex-wife of Beau Biden, the late Beau Biden, who is Joe Biden's son, and the ex-girlfriend of Hunter Biden. So yes, I know it's a little scandalous, but hey, I'm just reporting the news. Hallie, again, is the ex-wife of Beau Biden, late Beau Biden, and the ex-girlfriend of Hunter Biden. She called him Crack Joe Biden on her Twitter account. So she came out and she said so much. She gave information about how she said, my family knows that Donald Trump won the presidency. He won the elections, and they know he's still the president of the United States of America. She goes on and repeat Twitters to talk about how she has seen things that went on in the White House. She talks about how she said, there are some good Bidens that are still left, and I'm going to restore the Biden name because some of us support Donald Trump. We know how wicked number 46 is, my father-in-law is. She says that her father-in-law used to sneak in on her and watch her when she was showering and say, look at those zazas, but he said Tities, and he would try to coerce her into having sex. She talks about how people know that he does things to women and he does things to children. She went on to tweet about how she was raped or sexually assaulted by Clinton. She describes how Obama and Clinton have been involved in all type of nefarious activities, and she just goes on about different intel and information that only she would know. She talks about Hunter Biden's laptop. She talks about how he is a crackhead and goes on. Now, she does not have a blue check by her name, so some people are questioning whether or not she's telling the truth. But I think if you all want to know what she's talking about, what she's up to, and just, have a little information that could be true, you might want to check her out. Hallie, Hallie Biden on Twitter. What else is in the news? The IRS are refunding $1.2 billion in penalty to 1.6 million people. And these are people and business entities that were fined for not filing their taxes between 2019 and 2020 around the pandemic era. They are refunding people their money. How they're doing it, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it right away, if it's a slow rollout, but I do have that article, and it would be my great pleasure to provide that article for you so you can see if your money is going to be refunded to you. Because here's the thing. As we know here, the IRS is an unlawful, illegal entity. It has nothing to do with the government. It's not federal. It has nothing to do with our Constitution or with our republic. So it will cease to exist, just like I reported a couple days ago in my Nasara video. It will cease to exist like the other three-letter organizations, the CIA, the FBI, and others. Now, I think this is really interesting that this news is coming out about the IRS because, family, we know that this corporation or this corporate entity has to be dismantled. Now, all the taxes that you have paid over your lifetime, your income tax payments, they will be returned to you once the IRS is dismantled. So be encouraged. I know you've been taken advantage of. You've spent a lot of money, your hard-earned money throughout the years, but we have been told that money will come back to we the people. And it will happen in other countries if you've had to pay taxes or, or I don't know. Yeah, I say had to pay because I know they say it's voluntary, but for people who didn't pay, some of those people went to jail. So I think this is a precursor to the IRS being dismantled. And I find it very encouraging. So please check out the article and look and see if you will be refunded, and be encouraged and know that things are happening quickly. People are coming out. They're speaking their piece. People are leaving corporations. People are resigning, and people in power are coming forward, like military men, people who were married to the Bidens, even some entertainers are coming forward. So stay encouraged, family. I think that's it. But I do want to say that I had a friend who sent me proof that her credit card was zeroed out. So she owed thousands, and she received notice that it's now a zero balance. She didn't pay it, but she had heard us talking about Nasara. She's been reporting on Nasara, and now it reached her. And this is somebody that I've known for many years, so I'm excited for her. I've also had somebody that's a family member that received notice that her mortgage was paid in full and that it's free and clear. She owes nothing. And she's like, what? And even got papers, lawful papers in the mail to her stating that the house now belongs to her. So this is encouraging to me, that Nasara is being rolled out. And if you watch my video with Mel Carmine from the channel XRPQFST1, you know that he talks about how many people on his channel, many people in his groups have come forward and shown proof, evidence that credit card debt is paid off, mortgages, student loans, car loans, all type of bank loans have been paid off. So watch my video that I did about 2 or 3 days ago on Nasara, which is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. The global version of that is the GESAR, or the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, and see that we're going to have a debt jubilee where debt all across the globe will be completely erased, and we will be free and sovereign. The republics, or the national government of all the countries, will be back online and be restored. So that's what we mean by the restored republic. The republic is your lawful government. It is different from the United States corporation or many of these governments that have taken over and actually incorporated themselves. Now, finally, I just wanted to encourage you that once that happens, we will be considered free, and countries will then live in peace, complete and total peace. What will happen? Every human being on the planet will receive thousands of dollars per month, kind of like a universal basic income, but not quite called that, to compensate us for the nefarious activities that we have been victim to. So, like banking activities, usury or interest rate, exorbitant interest rates, and just being forced to do things that are not lawful or natural. And then as sovereign beings, that means we will no longer be called citizens or considered citizens, because citizens are slaves. We are sovereign. We have control over our own lives. Sov means over, reign, control. We are sovereign beings, and it's about time for us to know this, to think this, and to behave as sovereign beings and no longer as a slave. Now that's why Kanye West kept saying, if you keep calling yourself a slave, you will act like a slave, you will think like a slave. And he was like, you're not slaves. People got incensed with him and angry with him, but some of us overstood and understood that he's talking about having an abundance mentality and creating your own beautiful reality where you're sovereign, free individuals who make decisions for yourselves. Now, this is my conclusion of what's been going on. There is something else I wanted to say about President Trump. Oh, I wanted to say that Derek Johnson brought up how Trump was crowned king of Saudi Arabia. Did you all see that sword salute? It was like a sword dance of all men only that was done for President Trump. I think that was in 2017 when he went to Saudi Arabia. It was extravagant. It was beautiful. And what Derek Johnson said was just an acknowledgement of him being a king of some sort. Now, I think it's really interesting that the Saudi Arabians performed this elegant, extravagant dance because Saudi Arabia has been very critical in this war. And what I mean by that is those of you who have been in the intel community since Trump has been president know that military intel has told us that there was a triangle of power that must be dismantled. And on the triangle, excuse my drawing, they said there were three legs or three branches of the power. They said the House of Saud, George Soros and his people and foundation, and your bloodline families like the Rothschilds. And during each takedown of each branch, we were told, okay, the House of Saud is coming down. This is what happened. And then we saw Rothschild planes that were flying ahead. They were fired at. And so we were like, okay, this is showing you that the Rothschild bloodline family is being dismantled. And then you had George Soros and his faction that had to be dismantled. So the House of Saud was extremely powerful. Their princes were powerful. Prince, Prince with an S. I heard, and you all can fact check me on this, that many of the buildings in Nevada and Vegas, what do you call those buildings where they do lotteries? And I cannot think, my words escape me, but many of those buildings that people go to gamble, I heard that they were actually owned by the House of Saud and by Saudi princes. So I just think it's really fascinating that Saudi Arabia had so much power and so many businesses here in America. What else do I want to say about Saudi Arabia? You all know that what made the United States the reserve currency of all countries, or the currency in which all countries agreed, was because we were taking off the gold standard. But as the CEO of Miles Franklin, a precious metals company, told us, and his name is Andy Schectman, what actually made it the reserve currency, the USD, was that the United States made an agreement with Saudi Arabia that if you give us the oil, we protect your nation, we will force every country to use the United States dollar for trade. And so I know that's tied into OPEC and OPEC agreements, but it's just really, really fascinating to me that Saudi Arabia has so much power. But if you've been watching my channel and researching and doing your due diligence, you know that Saudi Arabia made an announcement to break away from the United States dollar. And that is huge news. Huge news, because we had an agreement with Saudi Arabia that we would get their oil in exchange for every country using the United States dollar. So for Saudi Arabia to say, I no longer want to have anything to do with the USD, and in fact, I'm going to join the BRICS nation, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, I want to join those nations and return to the gold standard. That is huge. That's letting you know that countries all over the world are changing their mind about the United States dollar. But for Saudi Arabia to say that mean that they set a precedent. So then they said that BRICS would be called Saudi BRICS. And right after that, we heard Iraq, Iran, Indonesia, Malaysia, Egypt, Turkey, and other countries were joining the BRICS nations. So in essence, what we see is that all the export nations all over the world have left the United States dollar and are not trading with the USD any longer. And the only countries trading with the USD are parts of Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Or it's US USMCA, which is a trade agreement that Trump actually created, the USMCA, between North America, our North American alliance. Allegedly, according to research, we're the only ones now trading with the USD, which means that the United States dollar is declining in value. And as you all know, and you can even look this up, when a dollar or fiat currencies decrease in value, gold and silver or precious metals increase in value. Now, I know that the prices have been suppressed, and that's because of inside trading, and that's because of spoofing, which is suppressing the markets in order to make people think that precious metals are not worth what they are truly worth. But please keep in mind that, look, like I said, what the devil does or what the nefarious power does for your harm, the creator always uses it as an opportunity for your good. When you have an abundance mentality and a positive mindset, and you understand and know and understand universal laws, you look for opportunities. So yes, the prices have been suppressed, but I've reported over and over about how JP Morgan inside traders have been arrested. I've reported how JP Morgan had to pay $920 million and confess that they were rigging the precious metals markets. I reported how inside traders, bankers, former congressmen have been arrested and convicted for suppressing precious metals prices. So we know that's what's going on. But my darlings, when that stops, when all these people are arrested during this covert and now overt operation, then the prices of precious metals will increase and it will rise exponentially. So while silver is only 19 and some change an ounce, and while gold is between 17 and 1800 an ounce, please secure precious metals and get them in your own possession. You can go to your local precious metals dealer because you want to establish a relationship between them and yourself so that you can sell it back if you need to, or buy some. And just, it's good to have a relationship with businessmen and and businesswomen, in your community. But if that doesn't work, then contact Andy Scheckman at info@milesfranklin.com, and he will send you an inventory and price list of what he has. He has the best prices in the business. He's been doing this for 30 plus years. And he's not had one complaint with the Better Business Bureau. I find him to be very credible. He's an upstanding man. He has integrity. He has a heart for the people. He is sincere. And yes, I will be working with him. So it would do me a great pleasure if you mentioned that I recommended you. But whether you mention it or not, you're going to get the best prices in the business. And like I said, you can always go to your local dealer if you don't do that. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. It has been my great pleasure to bring you this wonderful news. I know I've been a little more calm and sincere as I reported the news today, because it's just so much coming out. And you know what? It's interesting because when I report some of this on my social media platform, I do have a lot of people that support me and they encourage me and they love me, and I appreciate that. It's just that I've noticed a resurgence of people coming and, calling me liar and saying this is not true. And that kind of, it bothers me a little bit. However, I know what my purpose is. I stand firm on my square. I am convicted. I am assured. I am convinced that this intel is true. I've done my due diligence. I research meticulously before I stand before you and give you the news. And it is my great pleasure. It is my passion, family, to see humanity liberated. Now, I remember when I used to preach in church. I was an ordained minister. I am an ordained minister. And I would preach. And I remember the pastor coming, my pastor, Bishop Cordery, now he's called Apostle, would come before us and ask us, what is your purpose and how do you know? And I said, and I was a little nervous about saying it, but I felt a fire burning inside of me. Like Jeremiah said, it's like fire shut up in my bones. It's like, it's like a flame igniting in my soul. That's how I know it's my purpose. I said, my purpose on this planet is to liberate God's people. And I had tears in my eyes because I was shaking when I was saying it. And I know that to be the case because when I speak, I see the chains in my spiritual eye being broken and the shackles being broken broken from people's minds and their arms and their feet. I see people being inspired and encouraged through the words that I speak. I see people's lives changing for the better. I see their realities changing. I see people coming out of poverty. I see people buying land and planting seeds and buying precious metals, and they never thought they could do this. I see people establishing trust and putting their assets in trust or legal documents or legal methodologies of preserving and managing their assets. I see people coming out of the slavery mentality and saying, I'm a sovereign being and then I am one with the universe and I am one with the human family. I see people giving up that mentality of being a slave, of being black or being white, and seeing that we are all one and we're being in this enslavement together and we will be liberated together. I see people have restored hope in the intel that we report. I see people being encouraged when we talk about Nasara and Jasara. I see people's lives changing, and therefore, family, I will not stop. I will keep on. I will press on and tell my truth as the Creator has given it to me. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I said something. I pray that I have said something, anything to restore your hope, to renew your zeal, to renew your passion, to rejuvenate your purpose while you're here on this planet. I hope and I pray and I demand that we be liberated very soon. Make this a great day. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I love you. Mwah. Peace, family.